world may not always recognize it, but the strength of a woman chosen by God lies not in the loudness of her voice, nor in the magnificence of her accomplishments, but in the quiet steadfastness of her heart. God has selected you, dear woman, not because of some earthly qualification, but because He knows the depths of your spirit and the extraordinary potential He has woven within you. There are no accidents in His creation, no mistakes in His choices. There is no mistakes in His choices. You are here at this moment in this world because you are meant to be. Your purpose, though it may not always seem clear, is unique, beautiful, and vital to the unfolding of His plan. The concept of purpose is something that many of us grapple with throughout our lives. It is a question that is often asked in quiet moments of reflection or loud moments of frustration. Why am I here? There is something profoundly human about seeking to understand one's place in the world, to find meaning in the tasks we undertake, the relationships we form, and the life we live. For women chosen by God, the search for purpose is not simply an intellectual exercise. It is a journey of spiritual discovery, a deep exploration of what it means to be called by God to fulfill a unique role in His grand design. To embrace your purpose is not always easy. It can feel as though the world offers 1,000 different voices, each with its own set of expectations and demands, pulling you in various directions. The world will tell you that purpose is found in achievement, in status, in the pursuit of wealth or fame, in comparison with others. It will tell you that purpose is external, a measure of what you do rather than who you are. But for those of us who are called by God, the truth is far more intimate and personal. God's purpose for your life is not defined by external accomplishments. It is written in the depths of your soul, woven into the very fabric of your being. It is the call that echoes through your heart, the quiet whisper that invites you to step into the life you were always meant to live. When you begin to understand that your purpose is unique and divinely ordained, you free yourself from the pressure of trying to live up to other people's expectations. In fact, you begin to see that the path God has laid out for you is entirely your own, designed for you, crafted with your strengths and weaknesses in mind. This is not a purpose you can compare to someone else's. It is a purpose that only you can fulfill. Your life, in all its complexity and detail, is part of God's greater plan, and every moment, every choice, every step you take is imbued with the potential for great significance, even when it doesn't seem like it. One of the most profound realizations that comes with understanding your unique purpose is the deep sense of peace that follows. It is a peace that comes when you stop looking around you for validation and begin to trust that God has already equipped you with everything you need to fulfill His calling. This peace doesn't mean that everything will always be easy or that you won't encounter challenges along the way. Rather, it means that in the face of uncertainty or hardship, you will know deep in your soul that you are on the right path. It is the kind of peace that allows you to keep moving forward, even when the road is unclear or difficult, because you trust in the one who has called you. There is also a profound freedom that comes with embracing your unique purpose. When you understand that God's plan for you is specific and tailored to who you are, you can let go of the burden of trying to be someone you're not. You no longer have to spend your energy imitating others or striving to meet the ever-changing standards set by society. Instead, you are free to be who you were always meant to be. It is a freedom that allows you to embrace both your strengths and your imperfections, knowing that both are part of God's perfect design for your life. However, this freedom does not come automatically or easily. It requires a commitment to trust God and His timing. Sometimes it may seem like the purpose He has for you is delayed or difficult to see. There will be moments when the path forward appears unclear, and you may wonder if you're missing something. It is in these moments that your faith is tested. It is in the quiet waiting, in the moments of doubt and uncertainty, that you learn to rely on God's wisdom, trusting that His plan is unfolding according to His perfect timing. When you embrace the purpose He has for you, you begin to learn that God's timing is never rushed, never premature, and never delayed. His plan for your life is unfolding precisely as it should, even when you cannot see the entire picture. It is also important to recognize that embracing your purpose involves accepting the seasons of life that God has ordained for you. There are times when the purpose God has for you may not be immediately apparent, and there are seasons when the work you are called to do may not seem extraordinary or visible to the outside world. You may find yourself in a quiet season where your efforts go unnoticed, where the world moves on without recognizing the impact you are making. Yet, even in these quiet moments, God is at work, shaping you, preparing you, and refining your character. Your purpose is not always about the outward accomplishments or the applause of others. Often it is about the quiet faithfulness to God's call, even when no one is watching. In fact, some of the most significant moments of purpose occur in the seemingly small, unnoticed acts of obedience. Perhaps your purpose lies in raising children, in caring for a loved one, in showing kindness to a stranger, or in remaining faithful in a difficult situation. These moments may seem inconsequential in the eyes of the world, but in God's eyes they are precious and eternal. Every act of love, every step of faithfulness, every moment of obedience is a reflection of the purpose God has for you. You are not called to grandiosity. You are called to faithfulness in the small things, knowing that each act is an important part of His greater plan. The call to embrace your unique purpose also comes with a deep responsibility. It is not enough to simply acknowledge that you have been chosen by God. You must actively step into that calling, day by day, moment by moment. Your purpose requires action, requires you to use the gifts and talents that God has given you, to serve others with humility, and to live a life that is marked by faith and integrity. It requires you to stay true to who God has called you to be, regardless of the pressures and distractions that may try to pull you in other directions. It is a calling that demands both courage and humility, strength and grace. This understanding of your purpose also has profound implications for how you view your relationship with God. As you grow in your understanding of His plan for you, you become more attuned to His voice, more sensitive to His leading, and more willing to follow His guidance. Your purpose becomes a partnership between you and God. He is the one who sets the course, but you are the one who must walk in it. It is a partnership that requires trust, obedience, and a deep sense of gratitude for the privilege of being chosen to fulfill a role in His grand design. It is a partnership that invites you to surrender your own plans and desires, trusting that God's purpose for you is far greater than anything you could imagine for yourself. Inner strength is not something that can be seen on the surface. It is not about how loudly one speaks or how forcefully one acts, but rather about the quiet resilience that resides deep within. True strength is often subtle, emerging in moments of vulnerability, adversity, and deep trust in God. It is the strength that comes from knowing who you are in God's eyes and understanding that nothing, not even the hardest challenges, can take away the value He has placed on your life. This inner strength is the foundation upon which everything else in your life is built. For many, the journey to discovering this strength begins in moments of trial and hardship. It is easy to feel strong when everything is going according to plan, when the path is smooth and the future seems bright. But the true measure of strength is revealed in the difficult moments, when life becomes uncertain, when challenges arise, and when the weight of the world seems unbearable, when the changes arise, and when the weight of the world seems unbearable. It is in these moments that your inner strength is tested, not just in how you react to the circumstances, but in how you hold on to your faith and trust in God's plan for your life. Resilience, in this sense, does not mean the absence of struggle or pain. Rather, it is the ability to endure and keep moving forward even in the face of difficulty. It is the ability to stand firm, knowing that God is with you, even when everything around you is falling apart. It means not giving up when the road becomes steep or when the outcome is uncertain. Instead, it means holding on to hope, even when the world seems to offer none. This resilience comes from knowing that the trials of life are not in vain. God uses these challenges to refine you, to strengthen your faith, and to shape you into the person you are meant to be. But resilience is not something that happens overnight. It is a process that is developed over time through repeated trials, prayers, and dependence on God. It is about learning to surrender your own will and desires to God's greater plan, trusting that His purposes are always for your good. In these moments of surrender, you are not giving up. Rather, you are choosing to rely on God's strength instead of your own. It is about finding the courage to let go of control and trust that God's hand is guiding you, even when the way seems unclear. True inner strength also comes from a place of deep faith and conviction. It is knowing beyond the shadow of a doubt that you are not alone in your struggles. God walks with you every step of the way. This faith allows you to stand firm, not in your own abilities, but in His promises. You understand that the God who has called you is faithful to carry you through every trial. When you place your trust in His wisdom and His timing, you find a wellspring of strength that transcends your circumstances and beyond them. You will be tempted. You will be tempted. You will be misplaced. It is important to note that this inner strength does not mean that you will never feel weak or vulnerable. In fact, the more you embrace your dependence on God, the more you will recognize your own limitations. It is in those moments of weakness that God's strength shines the brightest. When you acknowledge your need for His help and guidance, you open the door for His power to work through you. The Apostle Paul famously said, "For when I am weak, then I am strong." Corinthians chapter 2, verse 10. This paradox is at the heart of the Christian walk. Our greatest strength is found not in our own abilities, but in our willingness to rely fully on God's grace. This inner strength is not just for your own benefit, but also for the benefit of those around you. As you grow in resilience and faith, you become a source of strength for others. Your example of endurance and trust in God can inspire others to hold fast in their own struggles. When you face life's difficulties with grace, courage, and unwavering faith, you demonstrate the power of God's presence in your life. You become a living testimony of His faithfulness, showing others that they too can find strength in the midst of their own challenges. Furthermore, inner strength allows you to embrace a mindset of peace amidst chaos. While the world may be in turmoil, those who walk in God's strength are able to remain grounded, knowing that their hope is secure. This peace doesn't come from the absence of difficulty, but from the deep conviction that God is in control. When you cultivate this inner strength, you become unshakable, not because of your own willpower, but because your foundation is rooted in something far greater than yourself. To cultivate inner strength is to cultivate a life of prayer, reflection, and connection with God. It is to seek His presence daily, to trust His word, and to walk in the power of the Holy Spirit. It is to allow God to shape you through life's challenges, knowing that every trial is an opportunity to grow in faith. Compassion is one of the most powerful forces in the world, and it is at the heart of what it means to be a woman chosen by God. To live with compassion is to see the world through the lens of empathy, understanding, and love. It means responding to the struggles of others, not with judgment or indifference, but with a deep sense of connection and a desire to bring healing, comfort, and hope. Compassion is not merely an emotion, but a way of life, a calling to reflect God's love in every encounter and every situation. It is the ability to put yourself in the shoes of another person, to feel their pain as if it were your own, and to respond with kindness, patience, and grace. In a world that often emphasizes competition, success, and individual achievement, compassion can seem like a rare and fragile virtue. We are often encouraged to focus on our own needs and desires, to advance our own interests, and to pursue our own happiness at any cost. This mindset can easily lead to a hardened heart, a soul that becomes indifferent to the suffering of others. Yet for the woman chosen by God, this is not the path to fulfillment. True fulfillment comes not from selfishness, but from selflessness, from the willingness to step outside of ourselves and reach out to those in need. God's compassion for us is boundless, and we are called to reflect that same compassion to those around us. To live with compassion is to recognize the inherent dignity and worth of every human being. It means seeing others as God sees them, not as problems to be fixed or challenges to be avoided, but as precious individuals created in His image, deserving of love and respect. When you live with this mindset, every interaction becomes an opportunity to show kindness, to listen with an open heart, and to offer a word of encouragement. You begin to view others through the eyes of love, not through the lens of judgment or comparison. This compassionate perspective allows you to see beyond the surface, to recognize the pain and struggles that others may be carrying, even when they are not spoken aloud. It frees you from the need to judge or condemn, because you understand that everyone is fighting battles that may not be visible to the eye. Living with compassion also means extending grace to those who may not deserve it, just as God hath extended grace to you. You to unhurt your expectations. In those moments, the temptation may be to hold grudges, to seek revenge, or to turn away in bitterness. But compassion calls you to do something different. It calls you to forgive, to offer mercy, and to seek reconciliation. This doesn't mean that you condone the wrongdoings or that you allow yourself to be mistreated. Rather, it means you release the hold that anger and resentment have over your heart. You choose to forgive, because you recognize that forgiveness is not just for the other person, it is for you as well. It is the key that frees you from the prison of bitterness and allows you to walk in the freedom of love. In a world that can be so quick to judge, criticize, and condemn, the compassionate woman stands as a beacon of light, showing the world a different way. She does not shrink away from the suffering of others, nor does she ignore the pain that is present in the world. Instead, she leans in, offering her presence, her prayers, and her actions in the service of others. She is willing to get her hands dirty, to walk alongside those who are struggling, and to help carry their burdens. This kind of compassion requires vulnerability and a willingness to be affected by the pain of others. It is not always comfortable, and it can sometimes feel overwhelming. But it is the way of Christ, who modeled the ultimate act of compassion by laying down his life for us. One of the most beautiful aspects of compassion is that it brings healing. When you show compassion to others, you create a space where they can feel seen and heard, where they can experience a sense of dignity and worth. The simple act of listening to someone, of offering a word of encouragement or comfort, can have a profound impact. It reminds them that they are not alone, that someone cares, and that their pain matters. Compassion has the power to restore hope, to heal broken hearts, and to offer peace in the midst of chaos. This is why it is so important for women of faith to cultivate a compassionate heart, because in doing so, we become vessels of God's healing in a broken world. But compassion is not always easy. It requires sacrifice, time, and energy. It calls you to step outside of your comfort zone, to give of yourself even when you feel that you have nothing left to give. It asks you to put the needs of others before your own, to lay down your pride and your self-interest for the sake of those who are hurting. This kind of compassion is not always glamorous, and it often goes unnoticed. But God sees. He sees every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every moment of selflessness, and he honors it. You may not always see the impact of your compassion, but trust that God is at work using your actions to bring about his purposes in the lives of others. Living with compassion also means cultivating a heart of gratitude. When you are aware of the ways in which God has shown compassion to you, it becomes easier to extend that same compassion to others. The more you understand the depth of God's love and mercy for you, the more you are able to reflect that love and mercy to those around you. Gratitude opens your eyes to the needs of others and fills you with a desire to serve. It reminds you that everything you have, the love, the grace, the strength, is a gift from God, and that gift is meant to be shared. Compassion is also an active choice, something that you must cultivate intentionally. It does not happen by accident. It requires you to be present, to listen with your heart, to look for opportunities to help, and to act when you see a need. It may mean offering a meal to someone who is struggling, sitting with a friend who is grieving, or volunteering your time to serve those who are less fortunate. The opportunities for compassion are endless, and it is through these acts of service that you begin to embody the love of Christ in the world. Finally, compassion is not limited to the people you know or the ones who are close to you. The compassionate woman looks beyond her immediate circle to the world around her. She sees the homeless, the orphan, the widow, and the marginalized, and she is moved to action. She recognizes that every person has a story, and that every person is worthy of dignity and respect. Whether it is offering a helping hand to someone in need or advocating for justice on behalf of the oppressed, compassion compels you to act on behalf of those who are voiceless or vulnerable. Compassion calls you to see beyond your own world and to be a voice for those who cannot speak for themselves. It calls you to love, not just with words, but with actions, to reach out in ways that make a tangible difference in the lives of others. Compassion doesn't stop with the people you know. It extends to the whole of humanity. The relationships in your life are sacred, and they hold profound significance in the eyes of God. Every person you encounter, whether in the context of family, friendship, or even a fleeting interaction, is an opportunity to reflect God's love, grace, and truth. Relationships are not meant to be mere social transactions or conveniences, but rather sacred bonds that are intended to shape and refine you. They are God-ordained spaces where growth, healing, and mutual support occur. As a woman chosen by God, you are called to honor these relationships by cultivating love, respect, and understanding in every connection. One of the primary ways you honor your relationships is by recognizing their divine purpose. Each relationship you have, whether it is with a spouse, a child, a parent, a friend, or even someone you meet for the first time, is part of God's plan for your life. These relationships are meant to teach you, challenge you, and help you grow. They offer opportunities for you to learn about yourself. They are mirrors that reflect both your strengths and weaknesses, showing you where you need to grow in grace and where you can offer compassion. When you view your relationships in this light, you begin to approach them with intentionality, understanding that they are not accidents, but part of the divine tapestry God is weaving. Honoring your relationships also means committing to the work of building and maintaining them. Relationships require time, effort, and sacrifice. It is easy to take those we are closest to for granted, assuming that the bond will simply remain strong without any active investment. However, just as a garden requires regular tending, so too do relationships. They need nourishment, care, and attention to thrive. This means making time for the people who matter most to you, even when your schedule is full, even when you are tired, and even when other things may seem more urgent. You must prioritize the people in your life and invest in them emotionally, spiritually, and practically. This active commitment to relationships also involves being honest and open. In any relationship, there are moments of tension, disagreement, or misunderstanding. When these moments arise, the temptation can be to avoid confrontation or to keep your feelings to yourself. But God calls you to approach these situations with honesty and humility. To honor your relationships means having the courage to speak the truth in love, to address issues that arise, and to seek reconciliation when necessary. This requires vulnerability, as it often involves exposing your own weaknesses or fears. But it is through this openness that deeper connections are formed. A relationship that is built on honesty, trust, and transparency is one that is able to withstand the trials of life and grow stronger through them. Forgiveness is also a key component of honoring relationships. No relationship is without its hurts, misunderstandings, or disappointments. There will be times when you are wronged, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and the pain of that can be difficult to bear. In those moments, you have a choice to hold on to bitterness or to forgive. God's call on your life is to forgive, not because the person deserves it, but because you have been forgiven by Him. Forgiveness is a powerful act of love and grace that frees both the one who forgives and the one who is forgiven. When you forgive, you honor the relationship by choosing to release the hold that hurt and resentment have over your heart. It is a choice to let go of the past and move forward in peace, allowing God to heal and restore both the relationship and your heart. Another aspect of honoring relationships is the ability to celebrate others. Too often, the pressures of life can cause us to focus inwardly on our own achievements, struggles, and needs. But honoring relationships means recognizing and celebrating the victories, joys, and successes of those around you. It means taking the time to affirm the people in your life, to encourage them and to cheer them on in their endeavors. God has created each person with unique gifts and talents. And when you honor these gifts in others, you reflect His character. Celebrating others helps to build a community of mutual support, where everyone is encouraged to flourish and grow. At the heart of honoring your relationships is a commitment to love. This love is not always easy or convenient, but it is sacrificial and steadfast. It is the kind of love that chooses to remain when things get difficult, that shows grace when it is undeserved, and that serves even when it requires personal sacrifice. It is a love that is modeled after God's love for you, unconditional, eternal, and unyielding. When you honor your relationship with this kind of love, you reflect the very nature of God's heart toward his people. To honor your relationships is also to remember that they are not permanent in this life. People come and go, and circumstances change, but the love you offer in your relationships has eternal significance. The impact you have on others, the way you make them feel loved and valued, will echo far beyond the years of this life. Relationships in their deepest sense are about connection, connection to one another, and ultimately, connection to God. When you honor your relationships, you honor the divine call to love one another as God has loved you. Lastly, honoring relationships involves serving those around you. Jesus himself demonstrated that greatness in the kingdom of God is not about position or power, but about service. To honor relationships is to serve others with humility, to put their needs above your own, and to be willing to sacrifice for their well-being. It means being attentive to the needs of others and responding with a heart of generosity, whether it is serving your spouse, your children, your friends, or even strangers. A heart of service strengthens the bonds of every relationship and creates an environment where love and grace can flourish. Through service, you build trust, deepen connection, and reflect the love of Christ in a tangible way.